Now, can you put some more of this iced tea in here?
Welcome everyone to episode 70 of Raw Sport. We're back with another big episode of Hot Boxing with the man himself, Mr. Rick Glaser. Mr. Rick, how are you, sir?
All right. Trying to beat a head cold here, but other than that, doing all right.
Yep, that seems to be going around everywhere. Massive weekend of boxing, a few shows happening, some news. We have a big week of fights coming up. Let's get straight into it, mate. Somebody we spoke about in our last episode, Boots Ennis, fought over the weekend. He had a victory over Chakadzian. That's with all.
Ever how you want to pronounce his name? I've heard it so many different ways. I'm confused.
Exactly, it's a bit difficult to actually say it, but we finally get there. A lot of talk around Ennis before the fight, the boogeyman. Nobody wants to fight him, so on and so on. And then talk after the fight was he got touched up a fair bit. He was there to be hit. What do you see?
I think he's got a very leaky defense against big punchers like Ryan Garcia, Terrence Crawford, Virgil Ortiz. I think he's in trouble.
Really?
He get hit with an awful lot of punches from a non-puncher. And if that guy was a puncher, the lights would have been out.
Wow. Does Boots Ennis have the style to sell these fights, these big fights?
Yeah, he does. He's exciting to a certain extent because the defense is so leaky. He's exciting. He stands in the pocket too long. If he doesn't knock a guy out quickly, then as soon as he doesn't, he gets touched up himself. So, I mean, he's beaten so many guys so easily because he fought so many old, over-the-hill, hand-picked guys and guys that were just not very good. And now he's stepped up, and we saw what he's all about. Went the distance with this guy twice in the last 18 months.
Do you think this will open up the doors to other fights? Because apparently, and that's how I said it.
It's going to have a flip side effect, too.
Yeah.
Now they're getting Eddie Hearn all of a sudden back down from him fighting Crawford and Virgil Ortiz and all these guys. So it's got a flip side effect now that maybe he's overrated, and now he's not going to want to fight these guys.
But the talk was everyone was avoiding him.
And now he might be avoiding everybody else.
Well, here's the positive side now. He might get a few more fight offers, mate, because I think he showed a fair few vulnerabilities there in that fight.
Well, when you have your own promoter, you're not getting fight offers. Your promoter is trying to get fighters to fight you.
Yeah.
And they were having trouble, even though that Crawford just didn't care. He wanted to move up and weight. He just can't beat those guys. Yeah, I don't see him beating Virgil Ortiz. I don't see him beating Crawford. I don't think he beats Ryan Garcia.
Absolutely.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely seeing a different side to him over the weekend. We keep going. Keyshawn Davis makes quite the impression. Second round knockout over Gustavo Lemos. There's a lot of talk about him wanting to fight Tank. That's pretty much where he went straight after the fight.
He's got the style. He's got the style to beat Tank.
Really?
Yeah. He's got fast feet. He's very agile. He knows his way around the ring, even though he hasn't had a lot of professional fights. And he's one of those kind of guys that's going to rise to the occasion. He's got the tools to rise to the occasion, and I believe he's got the mental moxie to do so.
Wow. That's a huge statement. So that's
my wife thinks he'll
beat Tank.
My wife thinks he'll beat Tank too.
So do you think that fight will go ahead?
I don't think Tank's going to fight him. How's that?
Wow. Jeez. Okay. Interesting. Massive prediction. Tank will not fight Davis, and and you believe he can beat Tank.
Oh yeah, I'm very confident he'll beat Tank.
You heard it here first on Raw Sport. All right, we keep going. Naoya Inoue signed a $19 million deal with Turkey Al Sheikh. But all I've heard about the deal is it's apparently for some social media promotion and marketing. There's no fights involved, nothing. What do you know?
I don't know anything more than it's a big financial deal for a Nui, and it's it sounds impressive. They've got the money. The Saudis have the money, so it's a why not situation. You know what I'm saying? And it's why not.
But
So
it's really vague. That's like it's really puzzling me out because the deal is very vague. Like there's
well,
not
we'll
much to
see.
it.
We'll see in the next 90 to 120 days. We'll see what it really means. That's the best way to put it.
Okay. Staying on the topic of Turkey, Turkey Al Sheikh announced earlier last week actually that he has bought Ring Magazine. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Then earlier today, a couple of hours ago, I also sent on Twitter that he said Ring Magazine will be back in print form in the UK and the US. There's going to be an app, a brand new website, revamp of the brand. The Ring Magazine titles are going to have the elegance and the appreciation that they once had again. Again, another move by Turkey. Where's the strategic relevance here?
Oscar didn't want to sell the ring unless it was to somebody who could further the ring and make it better and have the money to inject into the business to make it better. And he found that Stewart in Turkey Al Sheikh. That's all there was to it. And then he found the right buyer.
So Oscar had Ring Magazine obviously beforehand, but he
For 17 years. For 17 years.
It died off. Why? In your opinion?
I'm sorry?
It sort of died off. The relevance died off.
A lot of things in print have died off. It's the best way to put it. It's not far from the only thing that's died off in print.
I mean, do you think that they can rejuvenate it and revive this brand?
You know what? I'm not a journalist and expert. It's now, I'm a boxing guy, but I will say it can't hurt what he's going to do.
Absolutely. Okay. We'll keep going. Huge fight card coming up this weekend on Netflix. Weird to say. Some call it a circus, some call it a fight night, but whatever it is, it's happening and it's being sanctioned, I believe. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Now, I want you to give your initial thoughts on this fight, and then we'll go into the more strategic elements.
It's a farce. It's not what boxing's all about. It's a circus act.
Does it add to the sport?
No.
For the better of the sport, I should be a bit more precise with my language.
No, it does not. It makes the sport look like clownish. Oscar's got a great show in Riyadh on Saturday also, on the same day. And I'm looking forward to that show. It's got some great fights on the show, 6 of them.
We'll be discussing that later on in the show. Okay, Jake Paul's claim, he's a self-proclaimed boxer. He reckons he's elevated the sport, so on and so on. Has he really helped the sport of boxing?
I don't see where it has. It may have. I just don't see it.
This style of YouTube fighting, do you believe it helps the sport, Rick?
Like I said, I don't see it. I just, maybe a little public awareness, but I'm so aware about boxing, it doesn't do anything for me at all, obviously. And the people I'm around on a daily basis. Like my nephews watch boxing and they think that Jake Paul's a joke.
Wow. Staying on this fight night with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, on the undercard, you got Amanda Serrano. She came out and said that she's going to be making millions of dollars from this fight. And they tipped $1 million in the last fight versus Katie Taylor. I'm all for people having a platform, but is their fight really worth millions of dollars in purses?
I don't see it.
No, let's talk numbers now, right? Isn't that what business is? Boxing is a business.
Boxing is foremost a business before it's a sport. In reality, I don't see it. I don't see why they would be paying Amanda Serrano and anybody fighting or any big money like that. Makes no sense to me.
You got Mike Tyson being guaranteed 100 million. They're saying Jake Paul's going to take.
There's no way. There's no way he's guaranteed 100 million. 20 to 25 million is probably the number,
Okay, so
and that's too much.
wow. So this just flips everything on its head. So theoretically, if we're talking numbers, this it's only servicing from what I understand Netflix subscribers. So you have to be a subscriber to watch it, right?
Right.
So there's no pay-per-view. So where's the money coming from?
Well, Netflix is paying the money to the promotion for the rights, and they're hoping to generate a lot of people, new subscribers to Netflix, and ticket sales, and I'm sure sponsorship and some foreign TV money. I'm sure.
It's got me baffled, to be honest.
It's got me baffled too, but it depends how much Netflix is coming up with. That's what it all depends on.
Yeah, Mario Barrios versus Abel Ramos is also on that card. That's for the WBC Welterweight Championship. Is that one to look out for? We're going to see a barn burner?
No, nothing that Mario Barrios and Ramos would do is be a barn burner. It's just a fight. That's all it is.
Just filling up the card.
Yep.
We'll go back to Netflix. Is this the entree or before their entrance into the boxing world?
We'd all like to see it. Other companies have come to Netflix with a legitimate boxing series, other big promoters, and have turned everything down. So we'll see. I don't think so. I think it's more one-off deal. If they do boxing once or twice a year, I think that'd be a lot.
Wow. Yeah, it's just so fascinating that they chose this card. Anyway, maybe it's a Mike Tyson and Jake Paul thing, old generation and new generation.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
They're not going by quality; they're going by name value.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah,
obviously.
Now we'll go back to the big card that you mentioned earlier in Saudi Arabia. Golden Boy having, I believe this is their first card in Saudi.
Yes.
Their first card in Saudi, big card in boxing terms. Break it down for us. What are your thoughts?
Well, you got two unification bouts. You have Chris Billam-Smith, the WBO champion, versus the cruiserweight champ, world cruiserweight champ, versus WBA cruiserweight champ Zorro Ramirez, in a unification bout. And you have the 105-pound unification bout, and Oscar Collazo versus a fighter from Thailand. It's a unification bout also. And you've got four other really competitive fights on the show, including Jose Ramirez versus Arnold Barbosa. Got some really good fights, like I said. It's going to be a really good show.
Billam-Smith and Zorro Ramirez. Zorro Ramirez is an interesting one. He's coming up in weight, I believe.
Well, he's been a cruiserweight for a couple fights now. He won the title earlier this year, and he beat, I believe, the Frenchman. Not sure where I shouldn't say French, but I think somewhere over European. And he's a good fighter. He's a very good cruiserweight, very rangy, good on his feet, good hand speed. And Chris Billam-Smith is no joke either. It's going to be a great fight. I don't know who wins. It's a great fight.
Ramirez is an interesting fighter. He's a fighter who's had success, but it hasn't really stood out enough as per his success. Is there a reason why?
I don't know. He was WBO super middleweight champ. He lost his chance at the WBA title. He lost to Bivol in a decision. Then he moved up to cruiserweight, and he won the title. He's a good fighter, but he hasn't set the world on fire as far as being popular. He's all right. He's not disliked, but he's not a hot fighter. But he's good.
Yeah, he's in between that balance there of he's a good fighter,
Right.
but he's just not well known. Like he's not really famous,
Right.
which I would have thought would have been the other way around, especially being Mexican and having some success as well at the
You
higher
think
weights. Yeah,
you think, but it
yeah,
just never hasn't resonated like that.
it's gone the other way actually. So interesting. What does this Golden Boys now in Saudi as well? They've joined the rest of the crew. What does this step for Golden Boy mean moving forward? It just say
It'll make a lot more big fights with guys like with Frank Warren's fighters, Eddie Hearn's fighters, and there's more money there. It's that simple.
Any fights that we would have wanted to see that wouldn't have happened because of boxing politics that now Turkey can sort of push?
Yeah, I think Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis possibly. I think that's a big one. I think Terrence Crawford versus Canelo is another fight, even though it's got nothing to do with Golden Boy. There's a lot of fights out there that can happen now. Boxing's truly a worldwide sport, and it's getting bigger worldwide.
Wow. Interesting times. Okay. Conor Benn has been cleared to return after his drug charges. It's been a couple of years now so far. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a couple of years. Yep.
Where do you rate Conor Benn?
Well, he's had two fights. He's had two fights with no steroids or no performance-enhancing drugs, let me say. And he's not knocked out either guy, and he's looked very mundane.
Yeah, it's funny because he's gone off on a huge tangent about him being clean, so on. But as you said, his performance did sort of drop when all this saga came out about him taking performance enhancing drugs. So I'm interested to see where Hearn's going to go with him from here. There's the fight between him and Eubank potentially, the one that they were psyching up in the last fight night in Saudi. I can't remember who the last big fight night in Saudi when they clashed in the change rooms when Eubank announced he wants to fight Canelo, and straight after, who was the main event then?
I don't remember, but all I do know is that if he gets offered a Canelo fight or gets offered a Conor Benn fight, he better take the Conor Benn fight because the Conor Benn fight's going to pay big, and he's got a great chance to win. Eubank, and if he fights Canelo, he might get paid. He'll get paid, but he won't have any chance to win.
But won't that fight always be there? Like whether he loses to Canelo or not? Like
yes,
and
but
Ben is those two family names.
Most guys that fight Canelo lose their desire after that, and they don't even fight anymore
because of the money.
Right.
He's the hot ticket.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Outside Eubank, who's he got? With you're a man who matches fights all around the globe all the time, right? If I gave you Conor Benn, what would you do with him over the next 3 fights?
I don't know. I have to give him at least a tune-up fight or two to get back really in the thing. He's been pretty inactive over the last 2 years. He had 2 fights over 2 years. He hasn't had a fight in a long time. And he'd have to have at least 2 tune-up fights, and then we'd figure out how good he looked and look at the Conor Benn fight.
Interesting. Okay, that's all from me in regards to boxing. Now I want to ask you a couple of questions about the boxing business side. We're seeing all these events happening in Saudi, right? And I always have to go back to this because financially, I can't understand how it's making sense because I'm hearing a lot about fighters and managers and people taking money off the top and the fighters still being happy, so on and so on. How long can this model last for without it impacting the sport?
Without it, what? I'm sorry?
Without it devastatingly impacting the sport, like what's happened with PBC.
Well, it'll last as long as the Saudi government wants it to last. They're printing their own money. We've never had this happen before. You got a country that's printing their own money.
That
right?
is correct. That is correct. But then, are we setting unreal expectations outside Saudi? Who's going to want to fight outside Saudi now? If Saudi's offering these
Well,
massive purses,
you're only really getting the elite fighters and the top contenders fighting over there. You're not getting hobos and you're not getting the regular good journeyman fighters fighting over there.
that's also valid. All right, interesting.
You know, and
Well,
not everybody fits. They're concentrating on certain divisions: heavyweights, cruiserweights, and light heavyweights is basically what they're concentrating on.
yeah,
And
those heavier.
Terrence Crawford fights. So there's a lot of other divisions that they're not into, smaller divisions. There's a lot of fights that they haven't, that will never end up in Saudi Arabia. Remember, you're only talking about they're only going to do 6 to 8 fights a year. They're not, there's hundreds of fight cards around the world, thousands. So you're talking about a very small amount of fights here. They're not doing a weekly show of big fights.
Rick, everyone talks about boxing and the purses in boxing compared to the UFC, right? And there's the argument out there that says, hang on a second, only the top tier guys get paid huge amounts of money, whereas the bottom tier guys get paid F all, to be respectful. Some of them have to pay their way through, right? And then with the UFC, you see a greater range of fighters getting paid more money across the board, hundreds of thousands, all those that are signed up three times a year, so on and so on. What's your take when it comes to the discrepancies in money and pay?
Well, boxing, the model for boxing to make a profit for a promoter is very slim. You've got to have a lot of ingenuity to make a profit. In UFC, in the MMA with the UFC, you don't have to. They don't pay the fighters a whole lot, and they make big grosses. You're talking about fighters except for Conor McGregor, that nobody makes over $1 million. Fighters make 35, 40 million, like these top fighters, and a guy like Inouye's making 20 million. I mean, a fight. I mean, it's crazy. And
I'm actually happy you brought up Inouye, because not enough people understand the depth of boxing in Japan. Like from what I've heard, there's only like a couple of media outlets and like 50 million people tune in to watch him. Is that correct?
yes.
So the Japanese would, based off what you're saying, they fill out stadiums 55,000, and they pay people like Inoue $20 million a fight. It's crazy. I think they've worked it out.
Yeah, I mean, boxing's becoming bigger worldwide. It just is. It's all over the globe now. I mean, it's great. I'm involved with a show. I'm helping a promoter on a show he's doing in Malipo. I never even heard of the place. It's it's an island off West Africa. Never even heard of it.
And
I had to look it up.
What's he doing there?
He's doing a big show there. He's doing a show there December 7th. It's on Canal Plus in France. It's on it's on Sky TV in the UK and Ireland.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and who's ever heard of it? I never even heard of the place before.
Wow, because there's so many dim and grim reports about boxing and saying, "Oh, it's phasing out." But then when we hear
it's not true.
It's the other way around.
It's exploding worldwide. It's not as big in the United States as it was, but it's much bigger worldwide now. Look at the crowds are getting in Japan, and when Inouye's not fighting, they're still getting 20,000 people.
Wow.
I mean, it's I mean all over the world.
Interesting.
Well, how many people they just have for Anthony Joshua and Dubois? 95,000 people, right?
95,000 plus people, yeah.
Come on. What's dying about boxing? Nothing.
Dubois and Parker going to happen?
I'm sorry?
Dubois and Parker, Daniel Dubois and Joe Parker, is that going to happen? There's been rumors about that.
There's also rumors about Fabio Wardley fighting Dubois. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know.
We'll leave that one,
Whatever suits Frank Warren, that's what I'm in for.
We'll leave that one until we get some confirmation. All right, Rick, you've been amazing, mate. Once again, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining the show. Thank you very much.
We got 5 more minutes. We'll get 5 minutes. Come on now. We can't cut this short. We got viewers out there. Come on now. Any questions? Come on.
Let's see. Let's check the chat. There's no questions that come through on the chat. From Twitter, I didn't receive any, unless you did. If not, that's all really. We'll just wrap it up, and we'll come back next week with more.
Next Monday night.
All right, Dan.
And next Monday night, I'll be in LA.
And so will I. So we'll be doing it live.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Take care. Don't forget to tune in every Monday night, 11:30 p.m. Eastern, with the man himself, Mr. Rick Glaser. Thank you very much.